I am pleasure.
The Destiny had survived supernovae, hostile aliens, and the slow psychological collapse of a crew that knew they were never going home. It had survived Rush's obsessions, Young's moral compromises, and the particular brand of quiet desperation that came from being billions of light years from everything familiar. It was ancient, damaged, and stubborn, like most of the people aboard it. It was not built to survive what was coming. The object appeared on sensors at 300 hours ship time. Small, metallic, tumbling through the void with no trajectory logic, not debris, not a probe, not anything the ancient ship's database recognized. Brody flagged it from the observation deck, rubbed his eyes, and flagged it again. The readout made no sense. The object was generating a geometrically perfect energy signature in a universe that didn't favor perfect geometry. He called Rush. That was the first mistake. Rush arrived in 4 minutes, still pulling on his jacket, eyes already sharp. He looked at the sensor readout for exactly 11 seconds before he said, "Bring it aboard. We don't know what it is," Brody said. "That's precisely why we bring it aboard." By the time Young was notified, the object was already in the cargo bay. It was a box 6 inches across, brass gold in color, covered in panels of shifting geometric configuration. Surfaces that shouldn't have been able to move were moving, realigning constantly in patterns too deliberate to be mechanical drift. It sat on the examination table under cargo bay lighting, and somehow made the light feel wrong, like it was absorbing something beyond photons. Rush stood over it with the expression he normally reserved for Destiny's most impenetrable systems, hunger wearing the mask of scientific detachment. "Don't touch it," Young said from the doorway, P90 at his side. "I wasn't going to touch it," Rush said, and reached out to touch it. Young crossed the room in 3 steps and grabbed his wrist. "I said don't." Rush turned and looked at him with that particular brand of contempt that had defined their entire relationship aboard this ship. "It's a puzzle, Colonel. Someone built this. The geometric sequencing alone represents a mathematical framework we've never. I don't care what it represents. We don't know where it came from. It came from out there." Rush gestured vaguely at the hull, at the incomprehensible darkness beyond. "Same place everything interesting comes from." Young held his gaze for a long moment, then let go of his wrist. Not because he trusted Rush. Because he knew. The way you eventually learn to know things about people you're trapped with. That the argument was already over. He posted 2 guards on the cargo bay and went back to his quarters. He didn't sleep. Rush worked through the night. The box responded to him. That was the only way to describe it, when his fingers found certain panel sequences. The geometry shifted in answer, not randomly but responsively, like a conversation conducted in shape and pressure. He worked methodically, which was unusual for Rush, who normally attacked problems like they'd personally offended him. This one he approached carefully, almost respectfully. Eli found him at 600, surrounded by notes, diagrams he'd hand-drawn of the panel sequences, coffee gone cold beside him. "You've been here all night," Eli said. "Astute. What is it?" "A configuration." Rush sat back, rubbing his eyes. "Every panel position is a variable. The whole thing is a lock, or a key. Possibly both." He looked at his diagrams. "The solution space is finite. I can see the shape of it." Eli looked at the box. Something about it made him want to step back, which he recognized as an instinct worth respecting. Maybe we should run it through the ship's database again. Cross-reference with ancient records, see if... "The ancients didn't build this," Rush said flatly. "How do you know?" Rush picked up the box carefully, turned it in his hands. Because the ancients built things to be understood. Whoever built this built it to be solved. He set it back down. There's a difference. At 900, with Young still unaware, Rush solved it. The panels moved in a final sequence, 6 distinct clicks, each one resonating strangely in the chest rather than the ears. Felt more than heard. The box opened along geometries that shouldn't have permitted opening, folding outward like a flower made of mathematics. For one moment it was simply open and empty, and Rush leaned forward. The tear appeared in the wall of the cargo bay. Not an explosion, not a breach. A tear like the space between atoms had been pulled apart by patient, precise fingers. Through it came light that was not light, red, dark, and deep, illuminating nothing but suggesting everything. And through it came sound, distant, low, harmonic, like the universe itself registering a complaint. The 2 guards raised their weapons. The figure that stepped through made them feel, immediately and without ambiguity, that their weapons were beside the point. He was tall, pale as quarry stone, robed in black that moved with too much intention. His skull was a precise grid of pins, each one hammered through skin and bone with surgical regularity. The pattern of a mind that found order in suffering. His eyes were ancient in a way that had nothing to do with age. They were the eyes of something that had watched humans suffer for long enough to find it philosophically interesting rather than tragic. He looked around the cargo bay of the Destiny with the calm assessment of a man arriving at a location he'd been to before. In some essential sense, even if the coordinates were new. Rush stood perfectly still, the open box in his hands. The figure's gaze settled on him with the weight of a verdict. "You opened it," he said. His voice was resonant, unhurried, filling the room the way cold fills a room, not loudly but completely. "What you seek is what we offer, suffering." And through suffering, a pause that lasted exactly long enough to be unbearable, transformation. The ship's alarms began screaming. Young's voice came over the comm, sharp and immediate. "What is happening down there?" Rush looked at the figure. The figure looked at Rush. The box clicked once more in Rush's hands, settling into a new configuration. "Colonel," Rush said slowly into the comm, "I think you should come to the cargo bay." He didn't mention that he'd already made a mistake that couldn't be unmade. Some things, he was learning, you didn't put in the report until you understood the full scope of them. The figure waited. He was very good at waiting. Waiting, after all, was simply time, and time was the one resource he had in absolute abundance. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you want to see them in down in the comments below. Indeed. Young arrived with 4 armed personnel, took one look at Pinhead, and did what years of Special Forces training had prepared him to do. He assessed, categorized, and made a decision. "Stand down," he told his people, not because the weapons were unnecessary, because they were already irrelevant, and he was experienced enough to know the difference. Pinhead regarded him with something that might have been mild interest. "You're in charge," the Hell Priest said, not a question. "That's right. Then you understand what it means to send men into places they cannot survive." Young didn't flinch. "What are you?" "I am what your kind invents religion to explain." Pinhead moved not quickly, but with total certainty. The way something moves when it has never once considered that anything might stop it. He walked the perimeter of the cargo bay, examining the ancient hull with measured curiosity. "This vessel is old, older than your civilization. Older than most of what I have consumed." He pressed one pale hand against the wall. "It has seen things that would unmake lesser minds. So have we," Young said. Pinhead turned and looked at him properly for the first time. "Yes. I can see that." Rush was still holding the box. "Put it down," Young said without looking at him. If I put it down, Rush. Rush set it on the examination table. The moment he released it, the box began its slow geometric cycling again, panels shifting, reconfiguring. An endless patient puzzle, resetting for the next solver. Pinhead watched it with what might have been affection. The configuration finds its way, he said, across dimensions. Across the dark between stars. It found your ship because your ship is full of people who want things badly enough to make deals. He looked at Young. Desire is a door. Your crew has left every door open. Young crossed his arms. Nobody here is making any deals. Colonel, Pinhead's voice dropped half a register, which somehow made it worse. The one who opened the box has already begun. Every eye in the room went to Rush. Rush said nothing, which was as close to an admission as he ever got. Young walked to him slowly. Put his back to Pinhead, a calculated act of dismissal that he knew carried risk, and spoke quietly. What did you do? I solved a mathematical configuration, and Rush's jaw tightened. And there may have been a moment, while I was solving it, where I considered what I would give to understand Destiny's mission completely. To have every answer, he paused. It's possible the box registered that. Young stared at him. You made a wish in front of a hellbox. That's a profound oversimplification, Rush, essentially. Yes, Young turned back to Pinhead. He didn't agree to anything. Thinking about something isn't a contract. In your legal system, perhaps. Pinhead tilted his head precisely 2 degrees. In mine, desire is the only signature that matters. Please subscribe to see next episode, and don't forget to like and share. May the Force be with you.